Hello and welcome to 01460 On The Go, the podcast for Littletonians by Littletonians. Today we're going to take a little break from our Shaker Lane series and we're going to talk about the Sustainability Committee's work and climate action plans and Article 13, which is coming up at special town meeting. So this is also a great preview so you can understand a little bit more about what's coming up at special town meeting on October 28th at 7 p.m. in the Littleton Middle School. So with us today are Charlotte Dolenz. Charlotte is on our Sustainability Committee and on our Charter Committee and has a day job as well, which is
working in public health.
And then with us also is Michelle Zelenka. Michelle is the Regional Energy Manager at the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, and she is working with Littleton and the Sustainability Committee in particular on our climate action plan. So let's start with the basics. Michelle, can you tell us what a climate action plan is?
Yes. First, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on the podcast today.
Yeah.
So a climate action plan, basically it's a roadmap to reduce the town's emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and help prepare the town to be more sustainable and prepared for the effects of climate change. What sort of makes a climate action plan unique is that it takes an inventory of the sources of a town's pollution and from there recommends actions or measures to help reduce that pollution. So typically the kind of main largest sectors of pollution are going to be from the town's energy sources, buildings, and transportation.
Okay.
A climate action plan is a little bit unique from, say, a net zero action plan because it also incorporates other measures or recommendations related to waste and then natural lands.
Mm-hmm.
Waste, of course, you want to be less wasteful in town.
Right.
So that kind of helps promote sustainability, sustainable practices, while recommendations related to natural lands kind of can help also promote sustainability, but also mitigate some of the effects of climate change, especially when we see, drought or flooding, just hazards like that.
Right, so we were in drought. I don't know if the last day and a half of rain has been enough to get us out of it, but that's certainly been an issue that's come up in our area over and over again, it seems like, over the last few years in particular. Maybe, Charlotte, can you talk a little bit about how the Sustainability Committee is involved with the Climate Action Plan, and maybe in particular how Michelle came to be working with us on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been on our radar for a while, sort of the development of a climate action plan and how that might benefit Littleton, especially seeing as Littleton has already made many steps towards a more sustainable and resilient future. So we have it sort of codified in some of our planning already. But the climate action plan was really an effort of ours to take that next step. How do we move from perhaps ad hoc and kind of opt-in efforts to something which is more structured and which gives a greater sense of sort of collaborative action throughout Littleton. And so we first of all reached out to understand what other towns were doing and to hear about some of the best practices and some of the ways in which other towns had also brought in the community and kind of gathered input for what makes a successful climate action plan and even what is a climate action plan. Right. So as a sustainability committee, this was an area where we sort of did some of our own research and kind of really educated ourselves around the topic. And we held a forum as well where we actually heard from other officials from other towns about how they had actually gone about this. And I'll actually turn to Michelle to ask for Michelle to talk a little bit then about how MCOG got involved and how we as Littleton were able to actually secure some grant resources to bring Michelle on board and actually action this for Littleton.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of back up to last fall of 2024. The town of Pepperell was successful in procuring a grant through the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block program. Sorry, it's such a mouthful.
It is.
So the town, when they applied for this grant, they asked several other towns within the region to submit projects and kind of join in on it. So Littleton submitted the climate action plan. The town was successful in getting that grant, so that's how I kind of came on. And then NIMCOG's services were procured by December of 2024.
Okay.
So I started this role in February of this year.
Okay. And so how long will you be working on this?
So the climate action plan, we're set to have a draft out by March of next year, and then a final draft by May of next year as well. And the grant lasts, I guess, if you kind of account for sort of like fiscal quarterly reports and things like that.
Sure.
It's till about, I believe, July of next year.
Okay. So what will we do with a climate action plan in the sense of, is this something the town is going to have to adopt as a bylaw? Is it something that the administration adopts as like a policy going forward? What's the sort of best practice for what to do with a climate action plan once you have one?
Yeah, so I want to emphasize, it's not going to mandate anything
Right.
for residents and that sort of thing. But,
Right. It's a plan, not a
exactly
not a mandate.
It's a plan, and it's kind of, I imagine it's similar to like a master plan for a community.
We've got one of those.
Exactly, yeah. So it could be voted on, whatever measures within the plan, that sort of, it's kind of more of like a guideline.
Got it.
Yeah. And maybe just to add to that, some of the things that could be included in the climate action plan
Yeah.
would then sort of answer that question a little bit,
Great.
right? To what extent do we in Littleton want to include certain elements that might include changes to bylaws or codes, but that would very much be part of the process in determining what goes in. Other towns, for example, have included things like, instead of having an opt-in to the green choice energy, that's instead an opt-out. Little things like that, or for instance, setting timelines or deadlines around electrification of the fleet. So instead of having just a general sense of moving towards electrification, we set maybe specific timelines where we might want to see that happen. But it is, my understanding is that it really is very much defined by the inputs that we gather in Littleton, and it can take different shape accordingly.
And you mentioned that this all starts with an assessment. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like? An energy, it's not an audit, right? Or is it?
So it's not an audit. So the town has several resources in place to kind of better understand what the municipal energy usage is like. So Littleton is a green community. Basically, that's a state program that helps funds energy conservation measures in municipal buildings. As a member of that program, Littleton has access to a database essentially called Mass Energy Insight. So that tracks some of the municipal buildings' energy usage. So there's that can be used as a resource to kind of get better insight and make those recommendations for municipal buildings. But then there is also a lot of kind of input from town planners, other stakeholders, several committees that are kind of closely related to climate action planning efforts. So it's kind of a getting a lot of that input and sort of synthesizing that data to identify best actions or recommendations.
So it gives you a broad overview from multiple data points, and then
Exactly.
from
yes.
there you get your roadmap. My understanding, you mentioned green communities, and my understanding is that the climate action plan, Charlotte, I think you've mentioned this in the past, is sort of a key step towards moving forward towards qualification for other grant opportunities. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I'll certainly
Yeah, both
turn
of
to
you, of
Michelle
course,
for
always.
specifics. But many state and federal grants, at least in the past, have made it a prerequisite for a town to have a climate action plan in order to apply for certain grants. So that would be, in that sense, it's a box we need to check in order to apply. But it also would give us a sense of prioritizing what we want to apply for and sort of utilizing those resources best for Littleton. So both a requisite for the actual application, but also a way for it to guide our efforts to apply for things.
And that prioritization is a great point, because Jim, you can attest, grant management is a real draw on employee time, right?
Exactly.
And so making
Exactly.
sure that we're spending that time wisely, and time is money.
Right, the monitoring, then the reporting back that you have to consistently do on a quarterly or semi-annual basis. It can be time consuming.
Yeah, it's not just what did we do, but it's what did we do, how much did it cost, how many hours
Right,
did we
it's
spend on it?
measurable. Right,
Yeah.
exactly, to be able to identify those measurables and track them. You're right, spot on.
So
As in my day job, doing a lot of grant management, so I sympathize very, very much. But yeah, I think a climate action plan would be able to help us determine what do we really want to go after, and what's going to make a tangible difference. Yeah.
And I think that's also a benefit of one of our other topic, which is Article 13 and Littleton's, the Sustainability Committee's declaration that they've put forward. Can you talk to us about the declaration and what it, why the sustainability thinks that it's important, and why now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it does sort of go hand in hand with the climate action plan, and other towns have approached things differently. There is flexibility here, but really we see a lot of places sort of sequence these things quite closely together. The climate declaration is really that. It is a declaration. It is our intention setting as a community to acknowledge that climate change is a threat to our town. We're already seeing the impacts in terms of flood, in terms of drought, etc. And we already have things in place where we know we want to protect our natural resources, our open spaces, etc. So a climate declaration is a sort of formalizing of that language, and really a kind of commitment to the vision that we want to see in Littleton. It isn't a mandate. It doesn't automatically impose any limitations or any fiscal restrictions or anything like that on businesses or residents, but it is an intention setting for the town. And then that also feeds into what we want the climate action plan to look like as well. And so many towns have also voted on these declarations, and that kind of also sets that momentum, right, to move in that direction. I'll turn to Michelle maybe to talk a little bit about the specifics, maybe about how this has happened elsewhere, but that's kind of how we're seeing it in Littleton.
Yeah, I think exactly what Charlotte mentioned. There's really no set way of doing this, I guess you could say. It kind of depends on town needs, things like that. So, and I think declaring the climate emergency, like you said, it's kind of getting the ball rolling and kind of letting people know that this is a really important thing for the town, and that and I think also drum up participation too for the climate action plan, because there is a townwide survey associated with the plan, and we want to make sure that we're getting a lot of townwide feedback as well, and diverse opinions from all residents.
And Charlotte, did you mention there'll be forums as well?
Yes. So we actually hosted a climate action plan forum. Blanking on the date.
August 12th, yes.
And that was a really great way to start to already hear from the community in terms of what people are concerned about, what questions they have, what changes they want to see, and importantly, what things they don't want to change in Littleton as well. How do we preserve some of the things that we love already about the town and ensure that those are carried forward? So we want to continue that conversation, and as Michelle said, we have a survey which we hope will help us to reach more people, understanding it's sometimes hard, right, to make in-person forums.
Yes,
So we
right.
encourage everybody to try to fill out that survey, and then we will have another forum coming up as
And
well.
where will folks find that survey?
So we've sent out the survey in several locations. I believe the library, there should be a flyer posted there, as well as online. I believe they have a newsletter.
Yep.
The survey is also set to be published in Action Unlimited tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I sent it out to a bunch of places. Also on, I believe, the fire department's Facebook page,
Okay.
Sustainability Committee's Facebook page.
Yep.
So a lot of online places
A lot
as well.
of, yeah, and I know we sent out a news flash about it as well. So
Yes, thank you.
For folks that subscribe to those, they'll have it already in their inbox or
And,
on their phones.
Maybe if you have show notes. I was hoping was actually something I was going to ask if we can pop that in the comments under this podcast. That would
Yeah,
also be
we'll
very
do our
helpful.
best for sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about, you've been talking about, preserving what Littleton has and working off of what we're already doing. So for example, the Council on Aging just got, their van is electric, and which everyone's really excited about, rightfully so. So if I'm understanding this sort of process right, the declaration is going to help us set the intention of, for example, with electrification, right? This is something that the town values. This is something that fits within that declaration, that's going to help us prioritize what's in the declaration. And then the climate action plan would help us to sort of roadmap how we're going to do it, right? And besides just ad hoc, oh, we've got an opportunity, let's grab it, which we've been great at doing. But maybe everybody works better against a deadline, right? But does that sort of illustrate how these different things work together? Or am I missing steps? What do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about in terms of either Article 13 or the Climate Action Plan.
I think in terms of the article,
Yeah.
I do want to emphasize that by voting yes on this article, it really is that commitment to the notion that we want to take action. It isn't the action itself, and that those actions would be determined through the Climate Action Plan, as the name suggests, and that there would be opportunity for that input. So I wouldn't want anybody to feel like hesitant around like, what is this committing me to? What do I have to do if I sign up for this?
How
right?
much is it going to cost?
Exactly.
That's always
It's
a question,
sort of,
right?
The way I think of it is like raising up a hand and saying, yeah, this is something I care about. This is something I want to see Littleton take seriously. I do want to protect our natural resources. I do want to see Littleton's future more resilient in the face of these climate changes that we're seeing. And so sort of it is a win-win commitment, really, for the town.
That's a great way of putting it. Thank you for adding that. I wanted to thank you both for joining us. Charlotte, you are also on the Charter Committee, and you had some information about the Charter Committee that you wanted to add.
Yes, so I will take off my sustainability hat and put on my charter committee
And we thank
hat.
you for stepping up in both roles.
It's been really fascinating, actually, and I'm certainly learning a lot. But I did want to take the opportunity, sort of ad break here, to advertise to everybody that we are going to be having a public forum for the Charter Committee. And that is going to entail just really helping everybody to understand what we are doing, what is the Charter Committee doing, what is a charter, and really asking the question, what kind of town government structure do you want for Littleton? So that really is the nature of the public forum. It will take place on Tuesday, October 14th at 6 p.m. At the Shattuck Centre. And I have the flyer here in front of me, but you should see some flyers around town as well for that. And we really hope to get a great participation there, because we'd love just to hear from people what are the questions, and give everybody a chance to also feed into that process. And that will be the first of several forums that we will have on the subject. So thanks for giving me the chance to plug it.
Of course, if we don't have a newsflash out yet, I'm sure we'll be sending them out regarding the Charter Committee's forum as well.
Great.
If folks wanted to read up a little bit more on either of these topics, searching for the Sustainability Committee online in the town website, I'm assuming, is going to be helpful. Are there any other resources that you would recommend?
So the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, we are updating our website, so there should be also information related to the energy block grant as well as the climate action plan. So that should be updated soon.
Great. Okay. And again, that's the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments.
Yes, you can just search nimcog.org.
NIMCOG. Right. That rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. That'll be all for today. Please join us for our next episode. And until then, Littleton.